Charlie Brewster really got on my fucking nerves in this movie. Like, to me, he's the protagonist, but he's the worst part of this movie because he got on my fucking nerves. Alright, y'all, this is one of my favorite times of the year, Halloween season. Damn it, you see how I switched the poster in the back? I got the Elm Street 3 poster back there. I love Halloween time. It's a time of candy and scary movies and nostalgia. I love this shit, y'all. So, I know I'm a little late. This is my first horror movie review for this month, for this year. You know what I'm saying? But look, better late than never. I have a few more that I have planned. On this video, I'm being joined by my boy Anthony A. Perez. We have our Tit for Tat series. So to those that's new to the channel, Tit for Tat series is we pick out movies for each other that we normally would not watch. So Perez is more into the Disney joints. I'm more into anything 80s and 90s. You know what I'm saying? So right now he's got me watching the Halloween Town movies. Jesus Christ. And I got him watching some throwbacks like Fright Night, which we're going to be talking about today. And the next one's going to be American Werewolf in London. But definitely I'm going to leave the link in the description of this video, so check him out, Anthony A. Perez, who reviews movies like myself, and I'm gonna leave the link to our Halloween Town video. Actually, we reviewed Halloween Town 1 and 2. All right, so today we're gonna be talking about Fright Night. This is top 10 horror movies for me of all time. Like, I love Fright Night. My two favorite vampire movies is always Fright Night and The Lost Boys. I love the shit out of this movie. My only regret is that I didn't get to see this on the big screen. I was talking to my big brother earlier, and he was telling me how he went to the movies to see this, and when he went to see this, the biggest pop that got from the crowd was the scene where, okay, spoilers by the way, the scene where Dandridge is about to go into his coffin, and Peter Vincent slams the coffin door down, right? And he does the most maniacal fucking laugh I've ever heard, you know. Just to recap it, Fright Night is a simple story of this horror movie fanatic named Charlie Brewster. He's making out with his girlfriend. He's trying to go all the way with her, and she's acting prudish, but then she really wants to do it. But by the time she wants to do it, he sees some shit out the window. These neighbors just moved in, and they look like they're moving in a coffin. So being that he's watched every horror movie under the sun, he knows something ain't right with this. He suspects that his neighbor is a vampire, and he spends the rest of the movie convincing everybody that he's a vampire. And not only that, confronting this man on many occasions, knowing that he's a vampire. And if you've seen every horror movie like him, like myself, you know if you're going against a vampire, there's nothing you can really do to it physically, okay? So Charlie Brewster really got on my fucking nerves in this movie. Like, to me, he's the protagonist, but he's the worst part of this movie because he got on my fucking nerves. Usually in a horror film, you want the killer to get taken out. You're rooting for the protagonist not to die, and you want them to take the killer out, even if you love the killer. Okay, for example, Freddy Krueger. You know every movie Freddy's gonna die, and you have to be on board with the protagonist for this shit to work, okay? If you hated Nancy, if Nancy was a stuck-up bitch, okay, that got on your nerves, you weren't afraid to kill Nancy. So when Freddy does die at the end, it's not really satisfying because the person that you wanted to die is still here. And that's what I felt about Charlie Brewster. I hated him. The only character I really liked in this movie was the Peter Vincent character played by Roddy McDowall. I thought he was tight, all right? So he's a combination of Peter Cushing and Vincent Price, get it? So that's how he got the name Peter Vincent. These were two horror movie icons that used to host these shows back in the day, similar to Fright Night. So Fright Night in some ways is like a satire almost, paying homage to those old shows back in the day where they would have these guys host the show and then they would show the horror movie. Peter Vincent was the only one that I got behind. I didn't like Charlie, and I didn't too much care for Evil Ed. Evil Ed was kind of funny though, but Perez talks about this later on. He kind of got on your nerves after a while. He was irritating until he became a vampire. Now, as far as the antagonist, the villain, Jerry Dandridge, played by Chris Sarandon, killed this shit, y'all. This dude was charismatic, he was charming, he was likable, and when he wanted to, he was straight up scary. Now, I remember as a kid, when he got into full vampire getup, I was scared of this dude, man. Like, they did a great job with this. And by the way, Tom Holland wrote and directed this, and Tom Holland, he's a legend in the game. He wrote Class of 1984, which is a favorite film of mine, and the criminally underrated Psycho 2. He also wrote and directed the first Child's Play movie, which Perez is a big fan of. So this guy's a fucking legend, and this was his directorial debut, okay? This is the first movie that he directed, and he fucking knocked it out the park with this. And by the way, the visual effects is crazy too. Like, I love the visual effects in this movie. It's sad how the movie from 1985 with the practical effects can blow away a lot of the shit that's made now, because you believe that shit, even though some of it may be a little dated, but because it was organic, because it was tangible, you felt like you could touch that shit. You know what I'm saying? Yo, you believed it. Okay? And like now, everything is, you know, it's whack. You know what I mean? Damn, whack. Do people even say whack anymore? Jerry Dandridge is easily one of the best vampires like ever. You know, you put him up there with David from the Lost Boys, and who else? I guess Blade, Deacon Frost, you know, the chick from Underworld. Yeah, Dandridge was that dude, man, and he really represented what a vampire is supposed to be. Vampires are supposed to be charming creatures, but yet very savage at the same time. So it was that perfect balance. It wasn't like that Twilight shit where they're fucking glittered and sparkly and everything, you know. And he wasn't a total fucking beast savage. You know what I'm saying? He was a combination of everything. He was what a vampire is supposed to be, man. So Chris Sarandon really killed it with this shit. Before I get into the rest of my thoughts of what I thought about Fright Night, let's see what my boy Anthony A. Perez has to say about this shit, man. Yo, Perez, the floor is yours, homie.
Rashad and all his viewers. Again, my friend, thank you so much for having me in another video. This time you wanted me to check out Fright Night, a movie that I was actually already going to check out for my channel for this October, so it worked out perfectly because I'm probably going to be doing a video for this movie sometime later on in October, but I'm super happy to be here talking about it now. Thank you for giving me a reason to watch it earlier than I was going to. And yeah, this is a movie that I hadn't seen in quite some time. The last time I saw anything Fright Night related was the remake, and I know now that there's a sequel to the remake, but I never saw that one. But yeah, I remember the last thing I saw of Fright Night was the remake. I hadn't watched this movie in quite some time. So I'm going to assume that you've already talked about the premise of this movie. Guy has a neighbor that moves in who's a vampire, and yeah, just craziness ensues. Yeah, this is a movie for me that it's just one of those 80s horror films that just holds up in its cheese. You know what I mean? It's fun, it's entertaining, it's engaging, it's tense, and it has some creepy moments. But it's not necessarily a scary movie, you know, that you would watch today. But some of the imagery is definitely really creepy, and I think it's a movie that is well acted, it's fun, it's silly, it knows what it is, and I feel like it's aged in this different way. It's almost like a fine wine, you know what I mean? There's something about this movie that just gives it kind of that taste of that 80s kind of vibe. It definitely has that dated, aged kind of feel to it, but it doesn't take away from how entertaining and fun this movie is. And one of the best things about this movie that, you know, without a doubt you can't not talk about are the practical effects. Phenomenal effects in this movie, especially in the third act of this movie. I mean, what they were able to do with some body horror elements for this movie is so well done. And what I really enjoy about this film is, even though I had already seen it before, I got to watch it with my girlfriend, and it was her first time. And you know, I hadn't seen it in a while, so it's nice to kind of get a refresher on some of these moments. And it's a movie that sets itself up in a way that isn't really predictable. I think people could watch this movie today, even knowing the premise, and you really can't predict what's going to happen with the characters in this movie. Now, of course, there are going to be elements about the film, especially from it being from the 80s and some of the 80s cheese I was talking about. Some of those elements are not fully going to work 100%, but I think for the most part, this is a fun movie that's held up. I had a great time going back and rewatching it. And yeah, let me talk about some of my favorite things in this movie. Without a doubt, the neighbor, the vampire next door, his name's Jerry, and his character is played by Chris Sarandon, who has just gone on to be one of my favorite actors. He hasn't been in a whole lot where people are like able to recognize him as like, oh yeah, instantly, no problem. Like, he's not like this huge name, but I've always been a big fan of him because of movies like this, or, you know, obviously Rashad knows this, but I'm huge into the Child's Play franchise. So he's in the first Child's Play movie playing this terrible, very cheesy cop. He's the guy who kills Charles Lee Ray. And yeah, you know, I've always really enjoyed him in that movie, in this movie, and then my favorite role that he's ever played, which is Jack Skellington in The Nightmare Before Christmas, and he's reprised that role in various video games and some other things. And yeah, I've just always loved him in The Nightmare Before Christmas, so I have a special place in my heart for Chris Sarandon. And yeah, going back and rewatching this movie, he just fits the role so well. He was cool, calm, collected. He feels like he has control of every scene that he's in. And you know, what I love about this movie is that majority of the time where you're seeing Chris Sarandon as this vampire, you know he's a vampire. You've given plenty enough clues. It's not something that they're hiding from the audience at all. You're kind of writing this right out with our main character, Charlie, who, similar to a character like Andy Barclay in Child's Play, has to try to explain to people that, you know, there's a doll that's killing people. In this case, it's a vampire. But the idea of this very over-the-top situation that even trying to tell people about it is going to get you laughed at, or people are just not going to trust you. It's going to be, you know, the boy who cried wolf kind of situation. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed that dynamic, and I enjoy how they handle Chris Sarandon being a vampire. You know, it's not until the later half of the film that you really see him start to, you know, do some really crazy, badass, vampiric things. But other than that, you know, you see his teeth, you see his hands, but it's just his cool, calm collectiveness and in the way that he performs his character and the way that he kind of demands respect and fear in these moments, where it's just in his eyes, in his expressions. It's really in what he's saying in very subtle ways. And I think that's something that just shows that this is a great movie, right? This is something that just is able to relay so much feeling and tone without there being much dialogue, or the dialogue can be very subtle. And I think Chris Sarandon just chews up the scenery and he plays the role so well. I really loved watching this movie and just being able to kind of reinvest in his performance. William Ragsdale, who plays our main character, Charlie, I enjoyed him. I thought he was a cool character. I wasn't absolutely crazy about him, but going back and rewatching it, I enjoyed him. You definitely follow along with his journey. You feel you're with him, you know what I mean? You're rooting for him. So yeah, he's not the best protagonist, but I enjoyed him in there. Then you have his love interest in the film, Amy, who for the first half of the film is kind of an annoying character, but near the end where she becomes a vampire is just like really cool. And I feel that the same thing happened with Evil Ed, the actor who played Evil Ed. I feel like you have these actors who, like, you know, they weren't really the best actors throughout the course of the film, especially the guy who plays Evil Ed. Like, there's times where it looked like he's like fighting back like laughter, you know what I mean, where he's not supposed to be laughing, and his character is so obnoxious and so over the top, but you can tell they cast him visually and for his performance mainly for when he became a vampire, because when he becomes a vampire, his character becomes oddly more likable. He becomes a far more cool character that you're kind of engaged in seeing what's going to happen with him. And I really enjoyed him as the vampire because he was this over-the-top, very obnoxious, loud, and just kind of rambunctious character. And I've always loved that tied in with some sort of demonic or vampiric kind of creation like this, where you have this guy who was already a little bit over the top and now he's been given this bloodthirst and he's just kind of running with it 100%. And I think that that's where Evil Ed became the most exciting for me. And the character of Amy, similar, you know, the whole thing at the end with her becoming a vampire, especially the great effects on her face, and the effects of this film are just phenomenal on all fronts. I think without a doubt my favorite moment in this film as far as the effects is the moment where they show Evil Ed's character turn into a wolf, which we don't see enough of nowadays in vampire movies. You know, they do it from time to time, but not really that often. More often than not, they just turn into a bat, or they turn into some sort of huge bat creature. You know what I mean? We've seen it with plenty of other movies, but I love that this one kind of, you know, takes it back to the days of like Bela Lugosi's Dracula, and you know, they kind of throw in the mythology of them being able to turn into wolves. But yeah, when he's a wolf and he end up getting impaled, and he's slowly turning back into a human vampire, and you know, just seeing that every shot they cut back to him, something of him was turning more human. He goes from looking like a wolf into like a werewolf, into like a rat at one point, into like a hedgehog at another point. At one point it looks like it's a human wearing a pug, like the dog breed, a pug face mask. There's all this really over-the-top and crazy special effects going on in that sequence alone, and I just love how it looks. I love how it turned out today, and it still really holds up. So yeah, man, I think it goes without saying that I really enjoyed this movie. Thanks for listening to me ramble, everybody. I didn't anticipate to talk this long here in this video, so I'm going to hand it back to Rashad. But a big thanks to Rashad for having me in this video. If you guys are interested in more videos like this, Rashad and I take turns. I do one video on his channel, he does one on my channel. I'm having him watch some Halloween Town Disney Channel original movies right now, which are a lot of fun. So if you guys want to check out our series on my channel, definitely do so. And again, a big thanks to Rashad for having me in this video. And I think next you want me to check out An American Werewolf in London, which is another classic that I definitely have a lot of love for, and I definitely want to check out already. So I'm happy to definitely check that out. So a big thanks to you for having me in this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Can't wait to hear what you have to say about the rest of this, man.
Look here, don't worry about that, man. I don't care if this took 10 or 12 minutes for you to do. Speak your truth, okay? This movie is so iconic. and so special. I understand why you want to go that long, and I didn't mind because you know what? You were praising it. Now, if you were shitting on this movie for 8 minutes, then I'd been like, all right, man, hey, watch your mouth, all right? But because you love this movie probably as much as me, you know what I mean? It's all good. But yeah, I agree with most everything you said, man. You know, but only thing we disagree on is the Charlie character. I hated Charlie Brewster. I'm getting back to him. And not so much the acting, but just the character, the way the character was written. He was annoying. I mean, am I the only one that felt this way? Am I the only one that wanted Jerry to kill him? When he had him out the window, get ready to drop him, and he stabbed him through the fucking hand, I was like, no. I'm like, kill him. Kill him. Like, because remember, he pulled the pencil out, and he was ready to fuck him up, and then the mom was like, Charlie? And he's all like, yeah, like, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy. I'm like, yes, kill him. Charlie would not let up, mind you. Okay, think about this, y'all. And Perez, I'm talking to you too. Charlie started this shit, all right? But I know he had to because we had to have a Fright Night movie, but Charlie started this, okay? If he didn't fuck with that guy, if he would just left him alone and did what he did, none of this would have went down. But then again, I mean, he did do something right because he was killing motherfuckers, okay? He was taking these girls and biting them and turning them and shit. But vampires really don't kill nobody. If you think about it, vampires really don't kill anybody. They bite them and they turn them into one of them, okay? Only time they kill is if you really piss them off, then they bite a plug out your neck and then you bleed to death and shit. But other than that, they just bite you and turn you. And Jerry was minding his own business. He was drinking his blood, sleeping in his coffin, eating his apples. He was minding his own business. This boy, this fanboy of the horror movies, had to go fuck with this dude. Brought the police over there. Brought his friends over there. You know, he went out of his way to fuck with this guy. So what did he think was going to happen? And so when Jerry would get ready to fuck him up, Charlie be looking like, oh God, no, I'm going to die. Yes, because you kept fucking with him. Remember they was at the club. And Jerry was charming the pants off your girl, Amy, you know. He was seducing her, like he had her in a trance, yo. Like she was ready to drop them drawers right then and there. Charlie cop blocked and came in there and tried to stop him, you know. So my man, really cool, grabbed his hand, twisted his shit, like, dude, you not on my level, just chill. And he's all, you can't kill me here. I don't want to kill you, man. Like, dude, I just want to fuck your bitch. And then, I probably shouldn't say bitch, huh? He took him like, dude, I don't want to kill you. I just want to take your girl. You know, Charlie would not let up. So at the end, yes, I was rooting for Jerry to kill him. And Ed, like Anthony Perez said, Ed did not get cool until he became a vampire. After that was some tight shit, especially when he turned into the wolf. And that transformation scene where he reversed back into a human, that shit was crazy, y'all. And you could tell they really wanted to show off that practical effect because that scene took forever. That was like probably the longest drawn out death that you'll ever see in a movie. Like, that death took forever. And the whole time Peter Vincent's looking like, is this guy ever gonna fucking die? And sometimes you look at him like, that looked like it really hurt. And then a couple times you look like, I'm about to cry, dude. You look like you being tortured. That was a slow, torturing death. Oh my God. But yeah, y'all, I love Fright Night, man. And it did spawn a sequel. Fright Night 2 was dropped in 88, and I might have Perez watch that also. That actually, honestly, Fright Night 2 was probably scarier than the first one. But to me, the first one was a better movie, but I think 2 scared me more, especially with that vampire on the rollerblades. If you've seen Fright Night 2, there's a vampire that looks like, it looks like a man, but like a chick at the same time. And they had the long nails. They was on the rollerblades going all slow and shit. When I saw that as a kid, like, it freaked me out, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, we might have to do Fright Night 2 yet next. But, yeah, y'all, this is definitely one of the top vampire movies ever. One of my favorite horror movies ever. Like, I love Fright Night, y'all. I can, you know, if I can send anybody, if anybody's never seen a horror movie before from the 80s, they say, what's a good 80s horror movie to watch? I say, watch Fright Night, you know. If they say, what's a good vampire movie to watch? The first thing I think of, well, is Lost Boys. But after Lost Boys, if they say I've seen Lost Boys, well, have you seen Fright Night? All right? Love this movie. So, giving this a grade, y'all, I know this video is probably going to go for a while, and I don't want to lose motherfuckers. Grading this, Fright Night gets an easy A. Love this joint, man. This is a perfect popcorn film that you can just have fun with, not to be taken really seriously. This movie knows exactly what it is. It's a satire, but at the same time, it does give you some legitimate scares. It does have some great special effects. And mind you, a little trivia here to those that might not know, this has the same effects team from Ghostbusters. Yeah, so the head guy from the effects team on Ghostbusters did this movie, and he did a phenomenal job. Like, this probably should have got nominated for an Oscar for Best Visual Effects. I don't know what won that year, but this definitely deserved it. And do you know this movie actually lost to Elm Street 2 in 1985? I looked it up. This was the second highest grossing horror movie of 85, and number one was A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Shit. And you watch those two movies together now, and you tell me which one deserved to make the most money. So anyways, y'all, what did you guys think of Fright Night? Alright, comment freely below. If you like it, did the content, hit that like and subscribe notification bell in the corner. Once again, subscribe to my boy Anthony A. Perez. The link is in the description. Check him out. He talks movies like myself. And that's all I got, y'all. Anyways, y'all, Rashad G signing out. See you in the next video.